Everybody, welcome to another episode of What a Hell of a Way to Die. It is me and Carey Shockey, Shocks on the internets, your favorite union lawyer, not a lawyer in a union, but a lawyer who knows about unions. When do we get the one big lawyer union? When does that happen?
I can neither confirm nor deny, though I do know certain folks locally who may or may not be negotiating for their first collective bargaining agreement as a bunch of associates. So we'll see. Obviously we are all email sucking members of the professional middle class who don't actually get to be part of the revolution. But as I've said before, I really just want to make sure that I'm put me up against the wall whenever. I just hope the management attorneys go first. Exactly.
I don't mind being put up against the wall, but there are some people I'd like to watch die first before you get to me. I'm in IT. I can only imagine how useless I'm going to be after the revolution.
Well, I mean, someone still has to, make sure the PowerPoint slides for the 5-year plan, get transferred efficiently between everybody, and make sure the various commissars' desktops are all linked together. So
it's even worse, man. I do IT for a tax company, so I'm double useless in that point.
No, I mean you'll be helpful for making sure we have the system to nationalize everything, to do critical race theory to it.
Exactly. We gotta make sure that we embed that directly into the AI consciousness that's going to eventually take over. We got to make sure that we have a libertarian AI.
Just luxury gay space communism, but it just means that all the soldier robots from the Terminator timeline are all queer.
Well, he showed up naked and hot, so
I mean, fair enough.
So I have Carey on today because Nate is sick, but so is Carey. But Carey apparently is not shitting his brains out with COVID. He's got the different kind of COVID.
Yeah, there's apparently 2 types of COVID going on right now. For Omicron, there's the kind that gives you a sore throat and makes you feel like you have a severe hangover. Which who knew that I spent most of my early 20s, training prepping to have COVID. And then there's the kind that makes your insides fall out of you. And thankfully, I have the fird one. So
to be fair, most of my 20s was both of those because of alcoholism. So
I mean, one did usually follow the other.
I had a real love for wheat beer, but wheat beer did not love me.
Yeah, I remember at some point in my late 20s discovering that part of the reason that most just cheap beer fucks you up so much is because there's just a massive amount of corn syrup in it, so it's all sweeter, and that's why you have just a splitting fucking headache the following day, and it's never really tasted quite the same to me since then.
Yeah, once in my later, well, I guess my middle alcoholism days, it was I switched over to vodka and cranberry, or vodka and club soda with a little bit of lemon or lime, because they always say you should drink a glass of water with every drink with every alcoholic beverage you have, and it's if you just mix your alcohol and the glass of water in some way, you're killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
And if you're wondering, that sounds like the voice of an alcoholic. Yes, correct. I was an alcoholic.
Yeah, no, I made similar choices, but with gin and tonics.
Right. You know what? It fucking works, though. So if you're in that middle alcoholism stage and you're just man, I'm hitting my 30s and I can't drink, Bud Select like I used to, but I still feel the need to get drunk on a Tuesday evening, vodka and, club soda or something like that. It'll really do you, man. It's refreshing. It will fuck you up. It'll really feed really help you chase the dragon, and you'll be able to wake up and go to your, shitty middle management job the next day.
Just getting really fucking nihilistic quickly here.
Exactly.
Just really going for it.
Well, eventually I moved on to the slightly functional alcoholism, where it's you stop drinking the cheap beer, but you go out and you buy craft beer, but you're specifically looking at the ABV because you're just okay. If I have because it's I want to drink fewer beers, but I still want to be fucked up. So this, this Voodoo Ranger's a 9%er. So drinking 2 of these is like drinking 4 regular beers. That's math that makes me feel better about myself.
Yeah, no, it's Like I don't even really like IPAs. I don't even like single IPAs, but I will buy this triple imperial IPA because motherfucker has an alcohol by volume of like 11%, and so I can just drink one of those while I'm cooking dinner, and I'm gonna like have a fucking swerve on afterwards.
Exactly. See, I've left all of that behind, and now I just smoke weed every day. So, uh, replacing one with the other, but at least one of them is not destroying my liver anymore. So, thumbs
Yeah,
up for me.
and if and
We're
if
at the
anything,
age where all the old alcoholics that are starting to come down with colon cancer. So, like, it's time to kind of get away from that.
yeah, or I don't know if this is like similar to like a similar thing that you see around the Midwest. I know it's like definitely a thing I notice around all the various Irish descended people around Boston where they get the drinker nose.
Hmm.
Where you just kind of, you look like was it fucking like WC Fields or something where your nose just ends up like kind of lit up like a, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer at all times of the
Yeah,
year.
all like bloated and red and
Yeah.
shit like that.
And it's
Yeah.
just like, yeah, that's like the sign that, you ended up in your cups a little bit too late on in life, and now like you got the drinker nose.
Yep.
You know, which is like not the end of the world. I mean, certainly better that than, like fucking colon cancer, or like, liver disease or a bunch of other shit.
Yeah,
But
liver. I have a friend that acquaintance that like disappeared from the internet for a year and then kind of showed back up with like, yeah, my liver stopped working, completely shut down on me, and lost a whole lot of weight and everything. And it turns out when you drink every day, when you drink alcohol, literally a poison. But it's a poison that makes you feel good. It's not like it's not like a Russian guru giving you toad toxins or something like this.
yeah,
It's
or a Russian soldier drinking just like
boot
avgas.
polish, getting the boot polish on and everything. But I mean, I actually understand that because like your life is just shitty existence. So like death is actually one of the more
Attractive options at that
right.
point.
It's an
Yeah,
appealing option that you have there.
and it's at least it's a death you choose yourself and not one that like finds you in a fiery blaze at some point.
Right. Like currently, Russian soldiers in Ukraine are having logistics problems with fuel, and it's probably because they keep drinking it as much as they are putting it inside of their tanks.
Yeah,
At,
just like just doing like a kind of like you're pouring beer into a stew, except instead of having like one sip for you and one sip for the stew, the other sip is for the tank.
everybody gets around. Everybody's just sad, sitting around a fire. You, Yuri, and your tank, just waiting to get waiting to get mobbed by a freaking Bayraktar or something out of nowhere. So Carey, I brought you on, and I wanted to have this. I wanted to have a conversation about something because there's been this push against Roe versus Wade again. We had this, and since you're the lawyer, explain this to me, kind of just so that I'm understanding. It's this isn't like an official opinion. This is just like a thing that was written by Alito that is like possible could become the overturning of Roe v. Wade, but it isn't technically there yet, kind of thing, right?
Yeah. So the court, the Supreme Court works in terms. The spring term is generally like when usually at the end of the term is when the blockbuster decisions come out because essentially because there's kind of jockeying between the different justices, particularly back in the day when it used to be a little bit more of a split court when Kennedy was kind of seen as like a swing justice. You'd kind of get horse trading back and forth, and you would get these draft opinions where um, the justices, or in many cases at this point, particularly for some of the older justices, their clerks, are writing various different drafts of the opinion, seeing if they can get a majority of justices to sign on to them. And so different drafts will circulate around the court over the course of the term. And it generally takes, in order to get a majority, particularly back maybe like 10 years or so ago, over a controversial case, it would, different drafts would get circulated, they'd get refined, they'd get read, there's different debates over them. And with the idea that, eventually you'll get to a draft that, at least a majority, if not more, of the justices will sign on to. Or that,
So
or,
so this is not something that normally we see. These are just like
yeah,
this is like the hey, I've written this. What do you guys think? And they'll
yeah,
say yes or no or whatever to it.
yeah. I mean, I, not being from a T14 law school, there was no chance I was ever going to work as a Supreme Court clerk. But I did work for a district court judge my 1L summer as an intern, helping to write memos and draft opinions and do other things. And so, and that particular judge also had a lot of other international law students, his actual federal clerks and other folks in there. So he had, I think there was almost 10 folks working in his chambers over the summer. And so there would be kind of an ongoing conversation and different drafts of things that would exist. And they were all held pretty close because, I mean, a good portion of how law is made in this country, particularly at the higher levels, is it's supposed to be kind of a man behind the curtain, Wizard and Oz sort of thing. You're just supposed to see the decision as it's fully formed, and you're not supposed to see kind of all the behind the scenes machinations that go into it, because there's sovereign state investment in the idea that the legal decisions that are emanating from the highest court are legitimate and not just kind of the same political horse trading that happens in like any other branch of government.
Huh. Well,
Yeah.
good thing that that we've been disavowed of those notions.
Well, yeah, and so of course, and so this was also, I mean, the last thing I'll say about it, just because I don't want to belabor the point, but this was an opinion that looks like it was originally written several months ago. So it's likely that wherever the opinion draft stands now is different than this one. I mean, worse or better. And also as a result, there's kind of, because this is likely not a current draft, there's kind of debate either way as to whether it was a conservative law clerk who wanted to force the court to hew to a very conservative line who leaked this draft, or whether it was a liberal clerk who was concerned about reproductive rights and wanted to leak it. I've heard arguments either way. I'm not necessarily swayed by either, but everyone has kind of reached their conclusions regardless, including a lot of dipshit right-wing legal accounts, victimizing and doxing various different liberal clerks on the court on very little evidence, assuming that they were the people who did it. So
yeah, the answer is always the other guy did it, not me.
Yeah, everyone's, and then you get like the kind of centrists in the middle who are just like wailing and flagellating themselves over this unprecedented violation of court and legal decorum, and saying, well, it's not necessarily legal, but we should pass a law to make it a felony. And it's like, no, you shouldn't, you fucking assholes.
I mean, who gives a shit? Like I feel like I should be able to read all of them now. Like I'm upset to hear that this happens, and that I don't get to, because it's not, I mean, look, I don't get a say in whatever happens with the court, right? We don't vote on them. We don't, it's basically at the whims of whoever is in charge at the time. SCOTUS is this completely like non-democratic idea that these 9 assholes for some reason can just come and make laws and decide things without any real input from anybody else. It seems like a pretty fucked up kind of situation that maybe made sense back when half of the United States was still owned by France or something. Currently doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we're not going to belabor the point. Everybody knows that SCOTUS is a completely corrupt and unnecessary kind of situation going on there, or maybe it isn't. I don't know. I don't really give a shit. What I also, I do want to say that this is not, I'm not trying to tell people, oh, you don't have to worry about this. Obviously, Roe v. Wade has been since the day it was ratified, or the day it was codified, or whatever. However, it has been attacked. As well as has there been violent attacks against abortion providers and everything along those lines. So regardless of this, of what ends up, I guess regardless of how you want to interpret what was leaked, obviously it's being talked about in a negative fashion, in a way that, if it does get overturned, I know Missouri is immediately going to ban abortions. Like they've already planned, got that in planning. And I think we only really have 1 or 2 abortion providers in Missouri anyway. Most people go over to Illinois, especially if you're a St. Louisan. But, so this is not to tell you, you don't have to worry, you don't have to be scared. You definitely should be, because this is not, rights about, who can and can't have an abortion, or like whether a clump of cells after 6 weeks is a human or not. It's about a woman and her doctor, or actually, no, not even that. It's about a woman making a decision about her body.
Yeah.
And not even like, because there are anti-abortion OBGYNs. So it's not even like a woman and her doctor the woman should make the decision about her body. 100% full stop. So that we have that out of the way, since I am, the very well-known cis het straight white male that I am, the only real thing that I can talk about, I feel, is like when it comes to sexual health, is my vasectomy, and I feel like it's a thing that not a lot of guys really talk about, and they don't, and it's permanent kind of alterations to your body like that is a very kind of like touchy subject that I understand, and I really kind of want to like put just my experiences and how things went for me, and some of the things that I see other people talk about with regards to vasectomies. So that's that I'm gonna kind of go over that a little bit. So my daughter was born when I was 31 years old, and my wife was 36, and that is hitting like 35 is the age where it's like you're kind of getting into danger zones of pregnancy, right? Like it's not terrible. It's like the percentages go up a bit, but still, the older you get, the more that you shouldn't be doing these things to your body, including birth control. So once my daughter was born, my wife had been off of birth control for like well over a year by that point, and she was just like, I'm not going back on hormonal birth control. She's like, and we had already discussed vasectomy and everything like that. It was just that I had to, I had to, put forward the motions to do something like that. So, after 3 weeks after my daughter was born, I basically just logged into my brand new job, brand new health insurance and everything. So I logged in and just kind of searched around, and like vasectomies, I had absolutely no, I did some research, I did some Googling, but like, there's not a whole lot that's really out there, about it. There's not like long, in-depth discussions about here's everything that I went through. And not to say that this was like a difficult thing to do. It was not a difficult decision. We had our child. I did not want any more. I absolutely did not want to go back to ever using condoms again. When you're like a married dude and you've been married for a while and you're just like, I'm not fucking around with anybody else. I'm not going back to that. I'm not going back to that game, Carey. I'm not 20. I ain't fucking scared.
And also like, it's, I mean, just as like to use the literal definition of it, I mean, this, it's also like a family planning thing too. Like you don't accidentally want to like, end up with a second child that you weren't,
right,
like, financially, or like, that your wife just like didn't want to, carry you to term, and, not like, or, there's other health reasons too. I mean, I know folks where, they've had like, great difficulty getting pregnant. They have one pregnancy, they have one child. It's very difficult. It's very like, causes like a lot of great, health, health concerns for the mother. And, it's don't want to risk her life based on, like a broken condom or something. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not a reasonable place to be. And it, so even more than just not wanting to do it, it just like there are real, tangible concerns and, health concerns and, just life concerns that, go into like that sort of decision.
Absolutely. Like the one of the reasons my wife didn't want to go back on hormonal birth control is because it can cause blood clots. The risk of like, it's fucking with your hormones. Like hormonal birth control is very, like, for all the dudes out there listening who don't have to deal with something like this, like the side effects of hormonal birth control are insane. And like when they came up with hormonal birth control for men, they're like, dudes would never take this because of all the side effects. And it wasn't anywhere near the amount of side effects that a woman
Yeah.
has to go through.
And
But, you
even
know,
like and even non-hormonal birth control, like even like the copper IUDs, like are incredibly painful to have inserted, and
yeah,
generally primarily male doctors are really downplay the I know like downplay like the pain and like the the how strenuous and like terrible that process can be, and and it still can be like very like uncomfortable thereafter. I mean, and that causes all sorts of like can cause all sorts of different issues.
yeah, getting
So
things put inside of your body
yeah,
can cause problems.
yeah, often not great. I mean, just even just any sort of getting things either put into or taken out of your body are stressful.
Right.
So like, and in particular when it's just something that someone gives you like some treats you like you're a troop and gives you a handful of ibuprofen and then sticks something up your genitalia, like not a great.
No, it's not. It's not. It's not a ideal situation to go through. But when you're a woman trying to navigate this world and you don't want to, get knocked up by whatever doofy guy that you're fucking at the moment, or maybe just because you just like us, you just don't want to have more kids. These are the options that are open to you, and there's really not a lot of options for men other than condoms or vasectomy. And condoms suck, and vasectomies are awesome, and I love them. Um, so there's, I of course like when you Google search vasectomy, and this was years ago at this point, 7 years ago, almost 7 years ago, coming up on my vasectomy anniversary soon.
Do you exchange gifts? Is
Yeah,
there
my
like
ball.
is there like a seventh vasectomy anniversary? Like, is there like do you follow the traditional anniversary guidelines, or is there like a separate like? Because I know like first year anniversary is like paper, like, and then you get into like like silver and gold later on in life. So I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
no, it's just every year I get to go visit the mason jar that my balls are in down in the basement. I take them out of the safe, and I was just like, hey guys, remember when we had fun? No, yes. So, when I was doing a lot of research on it, and watching, animated gifs of how it's done, and getting to vasectomy, it was great because it turned me into like a person who can be completely comfortable with the doctor, like telling the doctor anything that I need to. Like I don't get embarrassed with a doctor anymore
Yeah.
because I had, like, and when we get to the actual vasectomy, you'll find out why. And this is like either you can curl up into a ball or you can just let the scales completely fall from your eyes and just be like, fuck it, whatever. I don't care. I'm in your hands, quite literally. Um, so, so I found a guy, pretty much the first guy on the list.
You got a vasectomy guy.
You got a vasectomy guy.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you got to get a vasectomy guy.
Well, I found a urologist, a penis doctor. So called up and said, "Hey, I've been thinking about. I want to get a vasectomy." Asked, the nurse asked me a couple of questions. I had to come in for a consultation, and everything. So I go in, and they're very just like, "Yeah, here's the vasectomy. It's outpatient. We're not going to knock you out for it. You don't need to be knocked out or anything like that." Which caused me to pump the brakes a little bit first. Obviously. And
yeah,
so
I mean, as someone who got knocked out to like get his wisdom teeth taken out, I can see where it's going to cause you a moment of pause.
I'm not, and it's like I have had wisdom teeth taken out. I understand, like, I know how great localized anesthesia is. But when it's your balls, it's a little bit, it makes you go, ooh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, as someone, as a complete and absolute dumbass who has like a large number of tattoos and is like, for instance, like one sat for like 10 hours getting my chest tattooed and like, ended up feeling like raw hamburger, like, logically there shouldn't be any like real well, that was something I just did recreationally, like why would it like why would I flinch about just having like a simple outpatient procedure? But as you said, when it is you're literally going cock in hand to your doctor to have something irrevocably changed about you, that's pretty big deal.
It's a bit much, but I wanted once again I wanted the worry free busting basically is the eventual goal here. So
That was actually the original draft of the Bill of Rights. That was originally supposed to be the 11th Amendment, but we
the Second Amendment. There's like the Second Amendment was actually it did say busting, but they're like, well, they might think that we mean busting a nut, so we need to say guns.
Yeah, there was actually Ben Franklin tried to slip that one in and wasn't quite successful as he had hoped.
That man loved to bust.
Yeah, I mean there's one thing that he really did truly believe in beyond American independence. It was busting.
Founding fathers, horny and insane, just like the rest of us. Riddled with syphilis.
Proud American tradition.
Horny and insane. That is the basis of our country. So I go in for the consultation. I explain, we just had our kid. It was an easy sell for me to the doctor because it's like, look, I'm 31. My wife is past the age of 35. We don't want any more children. We just had a daughter. She's born. She's healthy. She's perfectly fine. She doesn't feel comfortable going back on hormonal birth control. We are of an age where it's not like, it's not a concern basically. Because I see people like at the age of like 22 being like, oh, the doctor wouldn't give me a vasectomy. And like, and that's one of those things where it's just like, I want you to have your bodily autonomy, but like also you're 22 and I understand you don't want kids right now and maybe you'll never want kids, but like it's hard to say what you're going to want at the age of 35 when you're 22. And I say this as somebody who's 39 now, like I understand the concerns that you people have, and not wanting to have kids at the age of 22. Wear a fucking condom. Don't if a doctor is going to tell you no, that doctor is I get it. And I understand the arguments for it. It's your body. It's your choice. You should be able to get the vasectomy, blah, blah, blah. But also I understand a doctor being like, dude, you're 22. I'm not going to give you a fucking vasectomy.
Well, I mean, I think it's like a couple things. I think, first, like, I think there is like, I think some unfair medical reticence. And I think particularly, related to, I know that there are, several women I've talked to who say that, they've tried to like go get their tubes tied, like earlier on in their 20s because they know they really don't want kids. And, doctors have refused to do that, or they've experimented with different forms of birth control. None of them work. They don't really think they want to have kids and they feel that's the safest option. And the doctors are very resistant and refuse to sign off on it. And I think that's, ultimately fucked up for the same reason that should there be like some level of gut check? I mean, probably, because Lord knows that I've made a lot of dumb decisions. I made a lot of dumb decisions over my early 20s. Thankfully none were lasting. But
or at least ones that are. I mean, you make the dumb decisions to get a chest tattoo, but that's not like that's not later on in your life. Just like you're never going to have children again.
And I mean, to be honest, even then, like I don't think I got my first tattoo until I was 24. So, and I think the only other thing I'll say is that and because I've seen it a lot online as people kind of react to the Roe news, is that while vasectomies are much more easily reversed than equivalent
tubal ligation,
tubal ligation, that it's still not necessarily easy or 100%. So it's easier, but
my doctor told me that I would have no reversal. He's like, do not consider that this is something you can reverse. Yeah. And I think there's like two different kinds of vasectomies.
Yeah. And I think it's changed a little bit over the course of like the last like 10 years or so. And it's become a little bit more, I think there is one kind where it's more reversible.
Yeah. There might be. Mine was a cauterization. So he's just like, I am cauterizing your vas deferens. We cannot put this back together. And I was like, and I said, cool. That means that there's not going to be like some sort of like, oh, accidentally they get back together thing, right? And he's like, right. Because that is a thing that can happen very, very rarely, but apparently it is a thing that can happen. And he's like, no, we're going to cauterize. It's going to have no more sperms for you whatsoever.
Yeah. So, and I just point that out because that's one of the things that like, don't still treat it as like a serious, like, medical thing.
Sure.
Even if it's, don't believe what, some account with, a black flag and, a claim that they're like a medic at protest says about, the medical viability of reversing a vasectomy.
Exactly. I trust the doctor who told me, and I was all about it. I said, yes, please make it so that it's not going to accidentally fix itself or anything. So the other thing that I had to do is I had to get I had to get my wife to sign off on it, like a permission slip to get a vasectomy. Because and I was like, and at first I was just like, this is fucking stupid. And my wife and I were both just like, this is so fucking dumb, blah, 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 my rights and everything. But then again, also like dudes getting like secret vasectomies is probably something that might come back and bite a doctor in the ass. So like again, it's like the vasectomy at the age of 22. I don't know what the correct answer is. And that's a debate that you could have until you're blue in the face and we'll never come up with the answer for it. I'm glad that it was, this easy for me where like I was in a position where the doctor's like, yes, cool, we'll give you a vasectomy. Just get your wife to sign off on this. And it's not like they like, checked to make sure that my wife, I could have fucking forged her name. They didn't really give a shit, but so I get everything signed. I turn it in and they're like, yeah, come on in. And this time it'll take, you'll be here for about an hour roughly. And then, have somebody pick you up. Not, just it's like it's not that you can't drive. It's just that like afterwards, you're not going to be in a very comfortable position to drive. And we'll get there to why that is.
Yeah. I mean, I can only imagine, you don't want to be like, for instance, driving stick.
Exactly.
After,
and we have a stick shift car. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I can't imagine that would be comfortable.
Yeah. So the situation that we get into here is go in and the doctor, and God bless it, I have the most stereotypical Jewish doctor ever who is a short guy, balding, and cracking a lot of jokes the entire time. Loved him to death. And he puts me, he's like, you got to lay down on this thing and you got to put your legs up in stirrups, right? Now, if you're a woman, this is not a strange position for you. Especially if you're getting regular OBGYN, pap smears, things like that. For a dude, very, very alarming kind of position.
Yeah, like a very much a new experience.
Right.
It's even like even for older dudes who may have gotten colonoscopies on a regular basis, like still like a different thing.
It is. It's just a very like, and again, like I know I'm saying this and that, and whatever women listeners we have are just shaking their head at my dumb ass. But like, it's a new experience for me that was a little bit alarming. But again, this is about when I started to just be like, all right, I can no longer give a shit, because not only did I have the stereotypical Jewish doctor cracking jokes, but his helper was a very cute female. And I was just like, I'm just going to have to get over myself here. I'm just going to have to that's my self-defense mechanism at that moment was just like, fuck it. Just give it the wind here at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there's like, I remember, I don't know if Army boot camp is the same experience, but I remember like in Doc Week and in the Coast Guard and feeling like kind of intimidated about the idea of, showering with like 70 other dudes. And then, being told that I had, 10 minutes to do it or I'd get, smoked by one of the CCs and, very quickly getting comfortable with being very nude amongst a bunch of other guys.
Yeah.
Which is like, well, I guess this is just what we're doing here. So I'm just going to slide naked past you real quick and try to get to the soap because I need to get in my rack before someone screams at me.
Yeah. The adaptability of the human mind is very, very surprising when you're just like, oh, well, this is literally my reality now. I guess that my brain is just going to say, okay, like either you can revolt against it and just be like, no, I'm leaving. Which I assume is like an option that you have. People left during basic training before as well. They're just like, no, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, like like I'm out. Failure to adjust.
Right.
I'm going back to my job at like Kinko's because this shit ain't worth it.
Because Kinko's doesn't make me fucking shower with anybody. At least not yet. They don't. So they got me in the stirrups, and then they get like a those sterile paper I get, like it's
Yeah, like the paper that's like on the bench when you go into a doctor's office.
well, no, it's like, you know, when you go to the dentist and they put the bib on you and it's that sterile
Yeah.
kind of bit. It's kind of like that, a bigger version of that, with like a dick and ball hole cut in it already. So they just kind of place that over.
Oh,
The
it's a you went to a Mormon urologist.
Yeah, I got to put the magic underpants on. I imagine it's, you know, for blood. There's really not a whole lot of like, there wasn't really a whole lot of blood there, but also like, you know, like I also imagine that when you're dealing with, you know, that part of the body, it's easier to just like isolate what you're working on away from like the visual noise of the rest of my hairy thighs and belly and shit like that. So like,
Yeah.
you know, just kind of like, we're going to elevate up what we're working on and kind of quiet down the noise of everything else of the rest of my disgusting body here.
Well, it's like, putting the pad on the front of the car when you're working on the engine, or something.
Right.
You're just kind of isolating everything else around it, and you're concentrating the alternator. You're not looking at anything else.
Right. I want to make sure. I want him to be sure. I want him focused on this. I don't want him to be like, oh, hey, you also have this mole here. Do you want to get that checked? Like, you're a dick doctor, not a skin doctor. Dude, stop it. Getting
upsold by your urologist. Yeah. My cousin Morty's actually a skin doctor. If you want, I can give you a 10% discount for an office visit next week to get that mole checked out.
The American healthcare system. I will say I didn't pay a cent for this vasectomy either. And I figured it's because the health insurance, like, you pay a certain amount of money for a single person, a certain amount of money for single or for a married couple, and then when you have kids, it's the same amount whether you have one kid or 10 kids. So when I imagine when there's just like, hey, I want to stop having kids, insurance company, they're like, fucking what? What do you want? How much is it? Here, $1,000, fucking fine. Yes, get it all taken care of.
Yeah, I mean, from my short experience of ever working around, medical plans and insurance documents and other things like that, probably checks out. I got to imagine.
Yeah. So the procedure gives me the shots and everything, and he's kind of explaining what's going on, what's going to happen. And I was like, yeah, I watched some videos on what happens. And he was like very impressed with like my preparation. Like, I showed up, my balls were already shaved and everything. I was like, yeah, I know you're going to do this and do that. It's going to, and basically the procedure is you make a small incision. He goes in there with like, I want to say like a medical crochet hook, just kind of a hook, like hook the vas deferens out, clip it, cauterize it, kind of stuff it back in, go for the other one, clip it, cauterize, stuff it back in, 2 stitches, done, done with everything. Very quick procedure. It didn't hurt. But I am going to say that it did feel weird because the doctor told, he's just like, look, we're going to do the easy one first. And I was like, why is there a hard one? What is this? He's like, well, one of the vas deferens is easy for us to get to. The other one is just kind of tucked away over here. He's like, it's not hard to get to. It's just, you're going to feel something that's going to feel like tugging on the inside of you. And like, I had no idea what to expect, but when it actually happened, I was like, yes, that feels like somebody is tugging on my insides.
Well, and it's the first time you get like an MRI or something, they give you the dye and they tell you it's going to taste like copper. And you're just like, oh, that's weird. And then they do it and you're like, yeah, sure enough. Yeah. It's like copper. Yep. All right.
Yeah. So they do the thing. He's, just talking, chatting away, and I'm chatting with him because fuck it. I've lost my concern for any of this shit at this point. And yeah, he gets everything done, and then does the stitches, does the sterilization, and then like wraps gauze around just my ball sack, like a huge amount of gauze to where like when I get out, like I'm kind of waddling. And also, like, how like usually your junk stays kind of like in a downward facing position when you're walking around doing whatever. Well, when your ball sack is completely like surrounded by bandages, it just kind of sticks out forward. Like it's an accusatory finger. And then you got to put pants on. So there's me, done with all of this. being discharged, going and then waddling on out. Got picked up by my wife, and went home. It took me like maybe about 2 or 3 days until I was feeling like I was able. They're just like, look, don't take it as an excuse to like sit on your ass for a couple of days. You don't have to do too much. Don't do too much. I had a little baby. I had a newborn who does not move around very much, so I didn't really have to move around very much. And after about 3 days, I was just like, yeah, I'm fine. Have not had any negative side effects or anything like that. I will say though, like the follow up when they're when they're like he's like, okay, in I think like 8 weeks or so, or 12 weeks, he's like, bring this cup back in. He's like, I'm going to need you to get a sample for us and bring it in. And like, as a dude, again, who's never done anything like this, the idea of a paper bag with a cup of my cum in it and handing it off to a receptionist is like one of the most insane things I've ever thought of. But then I have to remember, is like, I'm probably like maybe the second or third person who's doing this to this woman this week. It's like, well, here's my cum, go ahead and test it.
And I mean, it also just made, I mean, I don't know about you. I never got drug tested until I mean, you enlisted pretty young.
Yeah.
So I imagine you absolutely never, but I had never gotten drug tested until I enlisted. And so the first time that you're just like, standing there at like MEPS, or like even like, after you get out and you're like, I was in the fleet, and just like standing there with someone watching me pee, and then like having to like sit there with my cup of urine as I like carefully place a label around it that like hand it to a very nice like HS3. Just, is really fucking surreal.
It's a world that you're never expecting. And then once you get into it and you do it for the first time, you're just like, yeah, that's fine, I guess. Like, I mean, at one point in time, I was the piss collector. I have been, as we call them, the meat gazers before. Although when I do it, I did not. I was never like, I don't want to see your dick. I've only had like two, like in all the drug tests I've taken, I've probably had to, pee in cups maybe about, I want to say like maybe 15 to 20 times in the military. I guess I'm lucky that way. I don't know. But of all the times that I've had to do it, I had maybe two people that actually one was like right when I enlisted, and then one was just this random dude who like was just like, no, I gotta take these duties seriously. It's like, all right, man, I guess. Like everybody else is just like leans against the back wall, is just like, just hurry up, just piss in the fucking cup so we can leave. I don't want to be here either.
Yeah, I mean, I I got piss tested a lot. I think partially because the Coast Guard, because occasionally you could be around drugs and shit. So I feel like, I don't know, maybe, and it's also just a smaller service. So I feel like, they can have the luxury of testing everyone a little bit more. Plus I was involved in a Class A incident where someone on, one of my friends lost his thumb. I think I've talked about that on like, it was maybe in like one of the first episodes that I ever did with you. And as a result, to make sure, like we got blood tested, and then they did the blood test wrong. So then we had to get piss tested, but then they, got contaminated the piss test. So we had to get piss tested again. And it was just like, I think I got like, piss tested like 3 times over that one fucking incident in the course of like 2 weeks.
Dude, being a urinalysis collector, there are so many like mistakes that you can make that they call it a fatal dump, where which sounds like what Nate's going through right now, but is actually when like you have to like throw. It's just like, no, I can't use this at all. We have to throw away this. Like it doesn't matter what it comes up with, nothing like that. We have to throw it away because they are very serious about like, no, we want to know like if you've done drugs. I don't know why they give a shit about weed so much, but fuck it. I never popped hot, but I was always smart about it. As a reservist, you get done with your drill weekend like Sunday, then you go hit the weed guy and you smoke weed for like a week, and then go back into drinking a bunch of water, and then you're good to go.
Right. And you're in good enough shape that your body like metabolizes all that shit pretty quickly, particularly when you're younger.
Yeah, and also there's like an amount that is allowable. Like if it goes over a certain amount, then it's just like, okay, you've obviously been smoking drugs, versus you were at a Journey concert or something like that, standing too close to some 40-year-old hippies.
Yeah, you went to a reggae show at some point in like the last 2 weeks, and it was inside, and they just hotboxed the entire venue.
Exactly. And even then, I don't think it really count. But, just obviously, like, I don't think that drug testing should ever be done because who gives a shit what people do on their time off? But, whatever. You join the army, guess what? They're going to fucking drug test you. So you're going to have to get over that. And all you have to do is just do the legal drugs, like become an alcoholic like everybody else did.
Yeah, I mean, because just do the one that will, gradually destroy you in a very comprehensive way instead of the one that I think actually they discovered like a while back that if you smoked enough weed, it actually the resin over time helped protect you from COVID.
Yes.
So
Yes, that's why you and Joe and Nick have gotten, or and Nate have gotten COVID, but I have not. It's all the weed resin in my lungs that have. Now, granted, also I again am sleeping on the couch because I have a sinus infection and have been coughing my ass off for like the last week and a half. But it's not COVID. So, and I was in Las Vegas, so
Yeah, hanging out with Dave Portnoy and the rest of the Barstool Sports crew.
God, that was so weird when I saw him. And I think I saw Dave Portnoy at the Las Vegas airport when I was going home, and I was like, "This is the most famous person I'm going to see here in Las Vegas." God damn it!
It was like when I went to I spent one New Year's in Tahoe, and the famous person I happened to run across was Carrot Top. It was just like, huh. You're still alive. Good for you.
I would go. Carrot Top has a show in Vegas, and I wanted to go see it. I don't know why. Just to say that I have. Like, it's one of those like I would pay to do it once and just once to see what's he doing these days. Like, I went and saw Pauly Shore when he came through St. Louis.
Yeah.
I will never go see Pauly Shore again. It was not he's a 50-year-old man who does a lot of like cancel culture shit. So it's not that funny, but I did it. I went and saw Pauly Shore. So I would go see Carrot Top if it came down to it.
Yeah. I just remember that he kind of looked like aged leather.
Yeah, he's lifting a lot though too. So he's
he was.
Right,
I feel like he was jacked, but he was just he was just like a ginger dude who had spent a lot of time in Southern California.
I mean, he's living his best life. Him and all of his props, I guess. All right, Carey. Well, I think we can go ahead and wrap this episode up. I don't think we got to do the safety briefing stuff. We'll save all that stuff for one of our Zoo Crew episodes when we talk about bear attacks and shit.
Yeah, we can we can all enjoy hearing about the hilarious ways of everyone injures themselves, and maybe I'll dig up a couple maritime ones because Lord knows sailors and ghosties love to just like doing the absolute dumbest shit as well.
I mean, we're probably gonna have to revisit your buddy who lost his thumb.
Oh yeah, that was shout out to Devin. Fuck, man.
Who has one thumb and made a mistake? This guy.
Yeah, well, it was used to. I don't know. I'm not gonna get.
That's fine. That's fine. We don't have to get into it. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you have any other questions about vasectomies or anything like that, like I said, this is really the only like sexual health story that I can convey in a way to tell people like, look, this is an option. It's not that bad. It's more mental, like it's more in your head than it is anything else. And if you're considering one and you're a little bit, and you're in your mid 30s or something like that, I don't know what the future holds, but like if you've ever been considering one and holding back, hopefully this story will tell you that you're going to get more of a funny conversation out of it than you are going to get like some sort of like terrible, horrible story about like your balls falling off or anything. Like, everything still works perfectly fine. Trust me. It doesn't because I can't knock anybody up, but that's the point. That's the whole reason I did it. So like I said, the busting with no consequences, is always the goal here. So consider it, think about it. If it's an option for you, it's there. But otherwise, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Later.